Community gathered to honor Madeline during a prayer ceremony last night. Loved ones placed flowers near a memorial for her, and the ceremony concluded with a balloon release. Baby pink was a color Madeline loved, and that was one of many ways she was represented last night.
I think it was just a way of showing her, showing how much she touched everybody's hearts. It was a way to celebrate her even though she's no longer here with us. It was a way to show us how much we love her and will continue loving her throughout eternal life. It was always her smile, her endless laughs. She could be serious for 5 minutes and she would just end up making everybody laugh. She was just a sweet soul. She was so loving. She would take 5 minutes out of her day to be there for absolutely anybody that needed it. And I know that she still would have continued to do that if she were still here with us.
On May 10, 2023, 20-year-old Madeline Pantoja was living her life in Midland, Texas. She had an apartment on West Francis Avenue, a social circle, and plans for her future. But by 11 p.m. that night, she was seen for the very last time. When she didn't show up for her scheduled plans the next day, her friends didn't just send a casual text. They went straight to her door. What they found inside was the ultimate red flag. Her car was parked outside. Her keys were in the apartment. Most importantly, her phone was sitting right there. In today's world, a 20-year-old doesn't go anywhere without their phone, especially not for an extended period. That was the moment the missing person narrative shifted into something much darker. This wasn't a girl who ran away. This was a girl who was taken from her own home. Before we get into the heavy lifting of how the Midland Police Department and the FBI tracked down the killer, I want to say a huge thank you to the Laws and Criminals community. Your support, your comments, and your willingness to share these stories help keep the pressure on for justice in cases that the big networks often overlook. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the family. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. It's the best way to make sure you never miss the deep dives we do into the cases that truly matter. The search for Madeline wasn't just a local effort. It became a massive operation. We're talking about a 24-hour-a-day search protocol that lasted for 9 grueling days. The Midland Police Department didn't work alone. They brought in the Midland County Sheriff's Office, the Texas Rangers, the FBI, and even Homeland Security investigations. They deployed every tool in the shed: human search teams on foot, high-tech drones, and manned aircraft. They scoured over 60 square miles of the rugged, remote Texas terrain surrounding Midland. While the physical search was happening, the investigative team was behind the scenes executing over a dozen search warrants, digging into cell tower data, and interviewing 25 different people. While the community was holding its breath and a $20,000 reward was being offered for any scrap of information, the police were zeroing in on one man, Juan Chacon Jr. He wasn't a stranger. He was Madeline's ex-boyfriend. According to reports, Madeline had recently broken up with him, trying to move on with her life. But as we see in so many of these tragic cases, the most dangerous time for a woman is right after she leaves. Neighbors later told investigators they heard a massive, aggressive argument coming from Madeline's apartment the very night she disappeared. The why was starting to take shape, and it was the oldest, saddest motive in the book: obsession and control. I want to pause for a second because I'm always curious about the reach of these stories and who is standing with us in the search for justice. Do me a quick favor. Drop a comment below and let me know which city you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. It really helps me get a sense of the community we're building here. On May 20th, 9 days after she vanished, the search came to a devastating end. In a rural area of South Midland County, about 3 miles east of the intersection of County Road 190 and County Road 1160, searchers found Madeline's remains. She had been dumped in the brush like she was nothing. The discovery was the final piece of the puzzle.
One of Madeline's friends was supposed to meet on May 11th with Madeline to go swimming at her apartment complex. But when the friend arrived, she couldn't get a hold of Madeline. The friend left, but eventually came back because she, quote, had a gut feeling something was bad. At this time, the friend was scared and called Madeline's brother to tell him what was happening. The brother then called Madeline's boyfriend, Juan Chacon, who said he was at his father's house all day and hadn't heard from her. According to court documents, apartment management let MPD officers into the apartment. They found Madeline's phone, keys, and car were still at the complex, but did not find Madeline. The officer also spoke with a neighbor of Madeline's who lives underneath of Madeline, and the neighbor said at around 1:30 in the morning, she woke up to yelling and screaming from Madeline's apartment, but tuned it out because it's normal. On May 12th, MPD returned to Madeline's apartment for a welfare check. Officers found holes in the bathroom and bedroom doors, the bed comforter was missing, and there were dark red stains on the bedsheet. Officers ruled foul play was involved.
That same day, the Midland Police Department moved in and arrested Mario Chacon. They didn't just charge him with murder. They hit him with a $3 million bond, a clear sign that they considered him a high-flight risk and a danger to the community. But who was Mario Chacon? As investigators dug deeper, they found a man who was no stranger to the system. He wasn't some good kid who made a mistake. He had a rap sheet. At the time of the murder, he was actually on deferred probation for a felony drug offense. He also had prior arrests for deadly conduct and multiple charges for marijuana possession. He was a man who lived on the fringes of the law, and his history suggested a pattern of escalating behavior that finally peaked with the ultimate crime. Once the handcuffs were on, the legal machine started grinding, but it wasn't a fast process. For nearly 3 years, the Pantoja family had to wait for their day in court. They had to live with the knowledge of how she died and where she was found, while Chacon sat behind bars awaiting trial in the 142nd District Court. The prosecution had a mountain of evidence: digital forensics that likely tracked Chacon's movements to the dump site, the witness testimony from the neighbors who heard the final argument, and the physical evidence from the scene itself. As the case headed toward a 2026 trial date, the evidence against Chacon was overwhelming. Prosecutors weren't just looking at the murder charge. They had added a second-degree felony for tampering with physical evidence. This was a crucial piece of the legal strategy. By moving Madeline's body to that remote patch of brush in South Midland County, Chacon hadn't just committed a killing. He had actively tried to subvert the entire justice system. He spent 9 days watching her family plead for her return, watching the drones fly over the city, and watching the reward money climb, all while knowing exactly where she was rotting. On February 20, 2026, the legal standoff finally ended. Mario Juan Chacon Jr. walked into the 142nd District Court and did something many didn't expect. He pleaded guilty. He admitted to the murder and the tampering. In exchange for the plea, he was sentenced to 35 years in prison for the murder and 20 years for the tampering charge. Now, in the Texas penal system, these sentences typically run concurrently, meaning they overlap. But here's the kicker. Because murder is a 3G offense in Texas, an aggravated crime, he has to serve at least half of that 35-year sentence before he even smells a chance at parole. We are talking about a man who won't even be eligible to ask for freedom until he's well into middle age. The impact of this case on Midland can't be overstated. This wasn't just another statistic. Madeline Pantoja was 20 years old. She was part of the fabric of that community. When her remains were found near County Road 190, it broke the heart of a city that had spent over a week praying for a different outcome. The location where he left her, 3 miles east of the intersection with CR 1160, is a desolate, quiet area. It's the kind of place someone goes when they want a secret to stay buried. But between the cell tower pings and the digital breadcrumbs we all leave behind in 2023, there were no secrets left for Mario Chacon. The reality is that Chacon's history caught up with him. He was already on the radar for deadly conduct and drug offenses, showing a clear trajectory of someone who didn't value the rules of society or the safety of others. When Madeline tried to break the cycle by breaking up with him, he chose the ultimate act of domestic violence. The 35-year sentence provides some level of closure, but for the Pantoja family, the sentence is life. They have to live with the what-ifs and the empty chair at every holiday because of a man who couldn't handle a breakup. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive. These cases are heavy, but they need to be told so we don't forget the victims behind the headlines. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to Laws and Criminals. We've got more cases coming and I want to make sure you're there for the conversation. I'll catch you in the next one.